and there's just a bunch of fucking tofu eating, fucking man bun wearing dorks and no pussy at all. Yeah.
Hold down, baby! Woo! Is he down? Is he a big one? Is he down? Gorilla of the truck trying to get the damn shot.
Bullshit, man. Look at the thing.
Farm wearing shorts. Yeah. That sack fucking hanging out.
Don't fucking doubt the fucking 6mm.
Shoot him, shoot him. All right, hold on. Hold on.
Let's go.
Let's go! Those fucking Amish would have shot that motherfucker.
He's got a face only mother can love. That's great.
I just realized this is the first podcast we've recorded since Trump was elected.
Oh, yeah. I never even thought about that.
And it was popping up in my head because, so the one guy that called in that was all against us and not buying a rifle and all that, you know that probably generated somewhere between 20 and 30 support messages, emails, different things that came in, basically supporting us and, stand your ground, that kind of thing. There wasn't one supporting anything that supported that guy.
No. And I did have a little, I was super nervous that day.
Yeah?
I can't say I'm super political, or I haven't been in the last 8 years, but man, every 4 years I get all that fucking tingly stomach, maybe a little bit of, diarrhea. But it's to me, it's they're so fucking opposing views. And I know Travis was a big Harris fan. We'll get Travis in.
Oh, shit.
But they're such opposing views. And it's our way of I don't even see, it's so polarizing opposites that I don't see our way of life. And I would say that's definitely the Trump way of life, and their way of life. I don't see how they ever intersect in any way, shape, or form. And to be in the left, the Harris fucking tampon Tim side, I can't see how you're too pro 2A, you like guns at all, you love your freedom, you hate corruption. I don't see how you'd be on that side at all. And then he brought up Trump's, I don't know if you heard it, but he said basically that I said, and I wasn't speaking for Jake, and I always got to make that clear because the unknown side is Jake's. Shoot to hunt and other shit we got going on, yeah, we're combined. But I said, if you are on that left side, we don't need your fucking business, which I should have probably caveated. This is me talking, not Jake talking. But I'd imagine Jake may be on that line. And he brought up, I don't like Trump. This guy piped in and complained about, I don't like Trump's character.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say I love everything about Trump, because I don't. But what I do like is everything he stands for, and he believes in the American way. And I shouldn't have spoke for you, but I got a bunch of people coming back to me saying, thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah, it was all support messages, nothing negative really. Not even talking shit about the guy. Really. It was just support about stand your ground and,
Oh, yeah. There's one way, and it's the right way, in my opinion. Travis, you got Travis Hobbs on the podcast.
How you doing, Travis?
I guess I missed it. So you guys, good guys. Thanks for having me on. This will be fun.
Yes.
But you guys had a guy that was a Harris supporter. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
He didn't come out and say I supported Harris. What I said and Jake kind of said is, if you don't want to vote this way, you're an idiot, basically. And we don't need your support as far as what we do at Shoot the Hunt. And he came back and said, I can't believe, basically I love everything you're doing, but I can't believe you would say that, give that ultimatum and you support Trump with all his character flaws.
Wow. That's wild. I don't know. Dude, I've been trying to imagine somebody that does support Harris. Dude, it's weird. I don't know. I know Democrats, quite a few that I just don't know anybody that really did support Harris Walls, but wow, it's crazy. I live in a bubble though.
Yeah, it's kind of, I do. We also, this industry, I think it's an echo chamber, but if you were to get out and read it, think about this, that, his little superpower cabinet, his little super, whatever you call them, what's they keep putting Iron Man and what's the term?
The Avengers?
The Avengers. He has a super team. They were all fucking Democrats. Even Trump himself was a Democrat. So that's how far the left has fucking went hardcore left. They all left the party and went to Republican side. So, to me, that's that says a lot.
Yeah.
He is putting together the Avengers right now.
Yeah, he's got fucking Stark with fucking Elon.
Dude.
He's got Elon, or Tulsi has that little thing in her hair like Storm, you know.
Yeah.
I guess that's X-Men, but whatever. Yeah.
But it's what he's doing. He's getting ahead of the game this time. He's not going to wait till he gets in there and then take 6 to 12 months just to get people confirmed. Like, he's all over it.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just smart enough to be stupid about politics as a whole.
Me too.
But it doesn't take very long to figure out which side I'm on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we should probably generally keep. We don't talk politics. It just happened to be it's an election year and shit was coming up and it's polarizing.
I'm very happy with the way it fucking went.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that I know in my sphere that's not happy.
Yeah.
Well, Travis, we have you on. There's so much that I want to talk to you about because I've talked to you offline probably 4 or 5 times, you know, mules, rifles, headaches, mule deer, elk. And I would say you're like still under the radar, even though I talked about your podcast incident with somebody seeing you in the backcountry in the dark, knowing who you were. But I still think you're underrated for the amount of big deer you kill. So I think we need to kind of talk about that. And I really appreciate you because you're not flawless and you admit it. Because I'm sure I'm very flawed.
Oh, I screw up so much, man. I think it's funny. And like you think over the years, like you start thinking you're getting things dialed in, but you still just, you know, you're just going to make mistakes and stuff's going to happen and you learn and try to get better. But yeah, it happens.
So I kind of preface Jake a little bit. Can you give a compacted story about the yoga deer?
Yoga deer.
Yeah. So we were actually recording a podcast with Ryan, me and Robbie and Ryan. And that morning I went glassing and I went to this spot and I've been like trying to find this deer. So I live kind of like if you drew a line between Salt Lake and Jackson Hole or like Yellowstone, we get a lot of traffic, like people coming up through here. And it's gotten worse over the past, probably since COVID, but this was kind of an interesting thing. So I went up on this glassing point. I had been there the night before in the area, didn't see anybody, went the next morning. I'm up there glassing and yeah, it was the weirdest thing. So I'm not like next to a trail. I'm not next to a road. Like it's not super far away, but I'm sitting there and I'm watching for deer, dude. And basically I ended up like smelling this like stench. And I was like, what is this smell? Like, do I stink? Like it was like a BO type smell. And I was kind of just engaged in glassing. Well, long story short, and there ended up being a lady come walking like behind me, sitting just behind me on this hill. And she was doing like, I guess, gonna watch the sunrise while she was doing yoga. Dude, it was the weirdest thing. Like, yeah, that was the first for me. For sure.
So you smelled her first too, which is incredible.
Did you guys see each other at the same time? Did you see her first?
So well, she didn't see me. So I'm like sitting kind of off the crest of the hill and I'm glassing. And dude, and I thought I heard something behind me, like when I was sitting there. And well, I just, is it a deer? You know, whatever. I'm trying to be quiet. I'm just sitting there. I'm kind of waiting for it to get light and I'm glassing. And then I heard this and what actually tipped me off. So I thought I'd smelled like coffee too. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't have coffee, like fresh brewed coffee. And sure enough, she had coffee up there. Stinks like bad. But what got me is she started humming. So she had earbuds in and started humming. I'm like, what the hell? I stand up, look over, and dude, our eyes met at the same time. And I think she thought like, oh my, I'm getting murdered. Like she was nervous. I was like, what in the hell? It was wild.
Dude, I see this big, you're a posing figure. You're a big guy, big old beard up there in camouflage. I can only imagine she's thought, holy fuck, this is the end.
Yeah.
This is the fucking end.
I guarantee she did. Like she was nervous and it was just the most random thing. And I was like, where did you come from? You know, because when you're kind of off trail, it's one thing if you're like, if I was sitting on a trail, I would expect that. But I guess she had got there late, the night before and was like looking for a place that she thought the sun was going to come up that should have this like cool view. And sure enough, we ended up in the same place. It was really random.
The yoga deer.
I call it the yoga deer because, yeah, I still would love to, be in her looking at Travis, and he's this big old, you and him are about the same size, big guys. And, just fucking going, I'm dead.
It reminded me of a story where you thought you pulled off the trail enough to take a shit, but then the three girls walked right by you.
Rode by me. Rode by me.
Because you think you're off trail just enough, but then there's the people.
Even in remote, like going into the wilderness areas, you think you're remote, and then there's something that always reminds you that somebody's probably
you're not.
You're not.
Yep.
You're not. Well, I don't mean to, that was the start of your hunting season, correct? That was way back in September.
Yeah. So I think, I think it was archery season going. I think it was then, or it was just about to start. I can't remember, but yeah, man. So I guess like to kind of start, I'll just give you like a little rundown through the season. So me and Robbie went to Alberta. That was a lot of fun, man. I've hunted with these guys before, and it's just a cool place to go. It's really interesting hunting deer that are kind of like in cropland. They're not like up in the mountains. So you're dealing with private land issues and stuff. Well, we ended up finding this just giant typical, like a 200. I would say it was probably like 210. Really close. I don't know how we would have netted out, but like just a legitimate giant typical. Hunted him. I think ended up finding him on like the second day of the season, hunted him until it ended. And man, I ended up getting within like 55 yards of him for, I think I was laying there for almost 6 hours, and there was like no other way for me to sneak around on him. Had to just wait for him to stand up. And this is like a really condensed version of the story. Like, had played cat and mouse with this deer, but dude ended up like being within range. The wind shifted. He took off. Never got a shot. Just archery hunting. And then I probably won't name the state, but went to another state. Ended up finding another dude. This was like the year of a typical for me. So I ended up finding this giant typical. Dude, so lucky to get on a deer like this in a unit like this. And in fact, it was really probably one of the only times I've ever found like a legitimate giant buck, like during the season. I find this deer, and man, I'm within range of him. Like, he's 700 yards, 600. It was somewhere like around 700 yards, but I could have got way closer. So I'm glassing. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I honestly couldn't believe what I was looking at. And I'm watching this deer, and he's in some pretty thick, heavy cover. So get my rifle out of my mule. So pull it out of the scabbard. And I'm kind of getting down, and I'm watching this deer, and I'm like, man, should I shoot this buck from here? Like, I'm trying to decide, should I jump off? I'm like, maybe you better dial up, make sure like I'm ready in case like I do get a shot on him. And I'm just watching him. Dude, I grab my turret, go give it a twist, and I get like, I like, it's hard to say when you grab like a handful of turret, but it's clicking, and then all of a sudden it goes into free spin, and I'm like, what the hell? And like, it caught my attention. So I'm like going back and forth with my turret, no clicks, nothing. And I'm like, no way. Like, I got this deer. Now I've got a rifle that I know is not zeroed. Like, what do I do? Man, I went through my entire pack. I had this little multi-tool on my mule, and I am trying everything, something to fit in that Allen wrench. Dude, nothing will go. I'm squeezing it. I'm like, man, can I rip this turret off the top of my gun? Like, so I could at least get it back to zero. So basically, end up sitting there for a couple hours. This deer, and I've never seen this in my life, like a buck like this, middle of the day, was up on his feet for almost 2 hours, like feeding through this stuff. I had so many shot opportunities, and basically what I ended up deciding is I was trying to decide, should I call my buddy? He was up on the mountain. And I'm like, I wonder where he's at. Like, I don't know where he's at. Like, we haven't talked for a couple days, but I know he's somewhere up here. I'm like, should I try? So I tried calling him because I'm like, give me a rifle. Dude, I had just seen these guys like down the ridge. And I'm like, man, do I go and like hand them, like, see if I can trade out my rifle? Like, at least get one that hopefully is accurate. Cause I have no idea. So that was a helpless feeling. It was horrible, but I ended up electing. I'm like, dude, you got this buck. He's not going anywhere. He's not bothered. Like, just watch him, bet him down. We'll get back on the mule. I'll haul ass to my truck. I know I got an Allen wrench in there, and then I'll be back. But I mean, it's a couple miles. So watching the deer, he ends up kind of just feeding in this thick stuff, and all of a sudden he like comes to full attention and like flips around 180 and he's watching, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's he all wound up about? And then he just takes off, like, and he doesn't run, but he just takes off at a pretty good clip, and he kind of goes around the hill out of sight. I can't see him. I'm like, no big deal. I'm like, all right. And I looked down and there were some guys like quite a ways away from him, but I'm like, they just, he heard them talking, and I actually heard them. This is funny, man. Guys wandering around through the woods can be so loud, and people don't realize like how much noise, like when you're just you think you're just at a low talk, but how human voice carries. Cause they were a long ways from me, the deer. But anyways, this deer ends up going around the hill. Well, I'm like, no big deal. I've got him. So I think I had about, I think it was 5 or 6 days left of the season. Long story short, get out to my truck, adjust the turret, like I actually, let's see, I had to tighten it up, run it to 0, loosen it, and then realign the turret so my 0 lined up. So use the 0 stop. Dude, but that was just like one of those deals. Like, man, if there would have been a guy on the mountain auctioning Allen wrenches, I would have paid. Dude, I don't know what I would have paid for one, like to have that deer. And I hunted that deer every night, morning, like throughout the rest of the season, and I never got to see him again. So it was just a heartbreak. Like, that one really hurt. Like, because it's so rare, you can't have screw ups. Like, if you're hunting like really rare animals, you just can't screw it up. Like, when you get the chance, you got to make it happen. And that one will haunt me for a long time.
Let's emphasize, how big was this deer again?
Oh, dude, 35-incher wide. I think he would have been for sure 200 plus gross. I mean, a giant mule deer.
How often?
And like for a typical and perfectly clean typical, like just a super, super rare deer.
And there's also a funny story to go along with that. Our lawyer, I'm going to bring his name up, but he said, "Hey, I think I ran into Travis Hobbs on the trail riding his mule." He's like, "Do you know Travis, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Would you ask?" I was like, "Okay, I'll ask him." So I text Travis. I said, "Hey, did you run into 3 dudes riding horses in the dark?" Travis is like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, they recognized you from your voice." And he goes, "Yeah, I know. I got to quit going on fucking podcasts."
Yeah.
Nice.
In the dark, in the middle of nowhere, an unnamed state, you get ran into 3 random dudes and they knew who you were, Travis.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy, man, how things work out like that. And yeah, it's really, it's wild. You can't hide. People are super smart. Yeah.
Well, and to add to it, the story that actually I've been there with an elk, and you told me a story about a deer that you passed on that you may or may not have regretted. Can you go into that story?
Yeah. So another state, had this. So it was actually the same buck that I was looking for with the yoga chick. So I ended up I got shipped out on fire. So in September, I had to go on a fire for, I can't remember how many days. So I had seen that I ended up finding the buck, get shipped out on the fire. And I come back and I think I come back like a couple days before rifle season started. So I'm looking for this deer, man, and this is how it goes a lot of times with really big mule deer is as you get into those first couple weeks of October, they are so hard to find. Like, I think you got a few different things going. So feeds changed, they've lost their velvet, and then they also got like this year where we had like an above, like it was pretty warm. These deer are in their winter coats. So they transition into their winter coats starting about middle of September. And in a week or two, they're in their winter coats. So what I've kind of found and just noticed over the years is they're going to hang out in cover more. They don't have velvet on their antlers. They're just not suited to be out in the sun when it's warm. But so season started off, it was really warm this year, warm October, unseasonably warm. Dude, and I couldn't turn this deer up. So I'm looking, and this deer is another like really, really good typical. It was the year of the typical for me. I don't know. It was crazy. Had quite a few days to hunt. Dude, I found another good buck. My buddy had kind of mentioned it to me. I really wasn't like, basically, I had hunted this deer that I couldn't find, so I should back up. So when I started the rifle season, I couldn't find him. So I stayed on this deer for multiple days, and it's really hard for me to leave like a good buck. But I started like going out middle of the day, and I'd go to these different places just to like try to, if I could find another good buck. Like, I'm getting nervous. Did this deer get killed? Haven't seen him. You know, it was going on 3 weeks. Like, where is he? So I started moving out. So I really wasn't, I guess I had this deer, I thought, in my back pocket. Like, I'm gonna find him. I just got to put time in. I'll find him. So I ended up finding this other, like what I thought was a pretty good buck. And I actually saw him bedded down. Really nice deer. I misjudged him like just crazy bad. Like, it was probably the most off I've been judging a deer since I don't know how long, and I underjudged him, and he was bedded, and I've like had this rule in my head, like, don't judge a bedded deer. You should try to get, and especially from one angle, like you should try to get multiple angles when they're sitting in brush. And like what I could see of this deer was basically his ears and antlers, like top of his head, and he was kind of quartered away. And I'm like, oh, that's a good buck. Like, he's probably in the 180s, maybe a little better. But I'm like, I know of a better buck. Like, I'm not going to kill this deer. And this guy ended up coming over, and he's like, dude, he's like, we're going to go kill this deer. And I'm like, my son's been looking for him, and his son had put in a bunch of time. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, go kill him, man. That sounds awesome. They end up killing this deer, dude. And he ends up being like a 205-inch buck. Like, hell of a buck, dude. And I'm super stoked for him. And it was really cool that they were like nice enough, like, you know, they saw me looking at this deer, and they were really cool. They were kind of like back behind me. But yeah, I was super happy. So I screwed up on that. Go back and hunt this deer that I've been after. And sure enough, I never find him. So season ends, never find him. I think it was a couple weeks ago, I ran back like looking for him. Dude, end up finding him. He's freaking chasing does. He's live and well. So it just goes to show you, he'd moved a mile or two where a bunch of does have gathered up over the years. So it just goes to show, like, man, these big deer are just so hard to find. And those guys, that buck, they had been looking for him, I think, for 14 days. And it just so happened I ended up in the spot like the day that the deer was out and about. And I found him too. And yeah, middle of the day, just kind of wild stuff.
It is. And I know how much time, effort that you and Robbie put into those kind of deer. So it's heartbreaking that you were so close so many times this year with nothing to show for it. But that's hunting, unfortunately.
For sure. And it's all good, and I don't know. And I love that whole aspect of it. And like, when you do get one of those like deer that you've been after for multiple seasons, or, a long time, or you got a whole bunch of history with, it's all that much sweeter. So but that's what it takes, I feel like.
Well, and people throw around 200-inch deer numbers all the time. And very few people, I'd consider you and Robbie one of the few that can say, oh yeah, that thing, maybe not gross, but it'll damn sure, maybe not net, but it'll damn sure gross 200 inches. And fuck those deer. There's not very many of those walking around, man, especially on public land.
Dude, they're so rare. And like, that's the thing, is they are really, they are so rare. And even on, like these really hard to get draw type hunts, like, dude, they're very difficult.
Hey, back to your turret failure. Was that just you not tightening those screws up enough, or what kind of scope was it? And
So Night Force scope, NX8. I'm guessing so. I've thought back about like when was the last time I messed with it. To be honest, I hadn't. So you guys put the rifle together for me. I think it was probably about a year prior. So I got it. I zeroed. I double checked I think I had like a small adjustment for zero. I think that was the last time, and I had tightened it up. And dude, shoot it a bunch, like, and had no issues. In fact, it sucks. I was shooting it at like when I'd set up my camp a couple days before, and I'm like, man, why couldn't that have happened then? But it didn't, and that's just one of those things. So I'm guessing, and to be over the years, I think I've had Night Force scope since 2000, like 5 or 6, I think, and I've never had that issue. And I used to pack one of those Allen wrenches with me. Like I used to pack it.
The Night Force key.
Yep.
Keep one of those in the
I
Beetle
never
pack.
needed it.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy.
And
those screws, though, those couple screws on those turrets, those are the type of screw though that most guys are scared to death to strip it out, so they don't go heavy enough on it. But it could take quite a bit of poundage.
Yeah. And I've been in that situation.
Yeah.
A little light shit that didn't really matter. But
I guess that's a good point too. The fact that you had your zero stop actually set on the zero stop. I never do that either. I always give myself like 6 clicks behind. So if you had been like me, you would have had your zero again.
Yeah. So I was actually talking to Avery about it, and like over the years, like I've tried, I have been that guy that like had it. So you'd have a couple, clicks below it. And then I started kind of I'm like, no, just take the time and do it, man. Like just do it. And dude, I was so thankful. So that was another thing that like really was kind of a saving grace. But then in the back of my head, I was worried. I did check my zero because I was like, was I on zero? Like, I'm pretty sure I was. But I had to, it was all good. But I did have to double check myself just to make sure. But yeah,
those are those little tidbits, just like your dope on your phone screen, shit like that. Those are those little tidbits that might just save your ass in the end.
On that deer, did you ever think about, fuck, I'm just gonna try to shoot him?
Oh, dude, it was so.
Because that was going through my brain.
I blow off down. Hey, can you guys hear me? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it said to stop recording, but we got you on our side. Did you just stop recording on your side?
So yeah, like on that deer, I was so tempted because I mean, I'm sitting there like with my rifle, but the biggest thing is I'm like, how much elevation did I put into that scope? Like I just grab a handful and twist and feel it clicking, and then I felt it stop. So I'm like, did I dial 5, 10? Like what? I didn't have the confidence, and I'm like, I don't want to screw it up.
So do you carry a Night Force key now?
Oh yeah,
it'll never fucking 5 of them.
Yeah, dude, I put one. So I actually grabbed one. I put it in my bino harness. I got another one in like my like little emergency pack in my pack. I threw another one in my saddlebags. Like I'm never gonna be without one.
I'd have one in my prison wallet.
Yeah.
So you're one of the few people we've ever had on that have gone. That's your 300 Ultra, correct? You're talking about.
Yep.
And you took that through the whole load dev, rebarreled. Can you kind of talk about that process on the UM side real quick?
Yeah, dude. So you guys, like, it was awesome. I had this gun built years ago. Like and I just started having some accuracy issues. Like it was a super accurate gun. I think I had a 26 or 20. Yeah, it was a 26-inch barrel on it. And so it was last spring I was shooting it, and I was noticing my group sizes were opening up a little bit. And dude, I don't know how many rounds I'd put down it. I was trying to calculate like used brass that I had like reloaded, and I was trying to like do all the math in my head. But I know I had a lot of rounds down the barrel. And I'm the type of guy, like, I like to go and shoot. So I got kind of my own little range. I like to, dude, I'll take it out. I'll shoot freaking rock chucks. Like let my wife get really comfortable behind it. She shoots it a bunch. So I just shoot it a whole bunch. And I was like, it's probably time for a new barrel. And I was thinking like, man, I'd like to, maybe try shortening it up a little bit. I've been kind of always in the camp. Like I love the 300 Ultra. That gun has I've shot 300 Ultra for I think since probably 2007. Back before then, I was shooting a 378 Weatherby. I've just always liked those big 30 cals. This gun's just been like a real joy to shoot. It's super light. It's built on, in fact, I think I have like the fourth. It was the Lone Peak Actions out of Cache Valley, Utah. So I had heard they were going to make a titanium. I called them up. They're like, yeah, we are. So I think I have like number 4, the serial number's like 4 on it. So early, like a long time ago. Super happy with the gun. Really liked it, but just needed a new barrel. So I sent it up. I talked to Ryan a little bit. I sent it up to you guys, and dude, you guys worked it over. I was a burger hater, guys, and I'm going to tell you. So I shot 195 grain VLDs that cost me some deer. And what I think was happening was I was having bullets not open up. So like pencil holing through 2 deer in particular. And what happened was I was actually shooting a cow elk, watch my round zip through this elk, and I'm like, 200 yards, and I'm like, how did I miss the elk? Like I watched the snow in the back. My buddies saw it too. They were with me. They're all, dude, you missed it 200 yards. I'm all, no freaking way. Like reloaded, shoot again, and she dumps down. Well, skinning her out and gutting her out. Just had it, dude, the bullet just was zipping through her. Like not like, ended up finding 2 entrance holes. One like worked how it was supposed to, had an exit hole just like it was literally the exact size of a bullet. So I got really nervous about them. I switched back to shooting like an AccuBond forever. I really love the 200 grain AccuBond. I just had really good performance over the years with it. And it told me to switch to 215. It had really good luck. And I think that it kind of went with like what a lot of guys that I had, like successful guys that I knew that used burgers, the one thing they all kind of had in common was they were shooting hybrids. So I don't know. I'm really like, I'm excited. I think they'll be good. And they're super accurate. Like I can't believe like how good they shoot.
Gotcha. So you're pretty, once you got the rifle back from the load dev, you just were you reloading them, or was Unknown loading them?
No, dude, I'm not ever going to reload bullets again for like accuracy after I had you guys do it. Well, and so kind of where it all started was Robbie had some bullets that you guys had reloaded, and I'm like checking them out. I'm like, dude, whoever did these, like they know what they're doing. Like this was like precise. And he's like, oh yeah, he was telling me, like, he's like, yeah, no, I had Ryan's buddy do it. And I'm like, really? I'm like, oh, I need him to do my stuff. So yeah.
Ryan's buddy.
Yeah.
I
this
like
was
that.
like years ago, like in Colorado. In fact, I think he told me, like, man, I don't know how long ago that was.
Was that his 270 WSM?
I think it was.
Yeah, big turd.
Yeah.
This is prehistoric round. He fucking loves it, but he is
without a muzzle brake.
Without a muzzle brake.
Yep.
And this like leads perfect like segue into the mighty 6UM talk. So I want to get into several things here on this, Travis, but the 6UM, Jake, we need to cover this because we have kind of made a little shitstorm of not being detailed enough for the people.
Yeah, it's not a shitstorm, and it's really for the people.
It really is.
So we had a little discussion. So the 6UM is a 6 SAUM improved.
Yes.
So 40-degree shoulder. We were able to get head stamped brass in the 6mm neck, but not in the 40-degree shoulder. It's a 30-degree shoulder. So we thought to ourselves, why not also offer it in the 30-degree shoulder for those that don't want a Wildcat or Fireform? So we have currently, we're going to be offering it in both the 30 and the 40-degree shoulder. we have just sent out brass to have reamers made for the 30 degree. We will carry, there's going to be a new die manufacturer coming on the scenes pretty quick. They will be the supplier of the dies for these 6UMs. Brass is going to run February, March next year for the big run. But we will carry reamers, go gauges, dies, and everything you need, including load data, for this 6UM, whether it be in the 30 or the 40 degree shoulder. But if you order the brass, it's always going to be 30 degree.
Correct.
It doesn't need to say 30 degree on it. It is what it is.
And I'll put this out there. I have put this 30 degree brass in 3 different 6 Psalms. They do not fit.
Yep.
They're a little longer than the standard 6 Psalm reamer that we have seen so far.
And I've already had calls and emails from other gunsmiths that are trying to see if our brass will work with their 6 Psalm. The way I'm explaining it to them is this kind of sets a precedent. So if this is the only 6 Psalm brass that's head stamped on the market, everything should kind of follow that brass.
Yes.
And that's what our plan is.
And the confusion a little bit from the PMs that I'm getting, it will say 6UM.
No matter what, say 6UM.
Yeah. And if it's fire formed by Jake or by whoever makes a 6UM 40, it's a 40 degree shoulder or Ackley improved. If it's not, it's just a standard 6 Psalm 30 degree shoulder. So it would be 6UM 30.
Yep.
And it is kind of confusing when you just look at it from afar, but it's really not that confusing. How we get it is 30 degree.
Yes.
You have to fire form that or have fire form that to make it a 40.
Yes. But we will have everything you need, whether you want to be the fire forming guy or not. We will have everything on both sides.
Yes. And Keaton did all the work up on volume and case measurements. You're getting about 3 grains more volume if you AI it, if you 40 degree.
I've been asked that too, yes.
About 3 grains more. We don't know what that speed is. As soon as we get a reamer back, we will go test it.
If you break it down, it's probably somewhere between 50 and 100, probably closer to 50.
Yeah, I always throw out numbers and they always seem to be wrong. So somewhere between 50 and 100.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's on the 100 side, or surely if it's not, the 30's the 40's not worth it.
Yeah.
But there's also other things like case growth and all kinds of things that 40 negate that could help you. And 40's, Ackley hides pressure, so you can kind of stack it a little higher.
And we are, the Shoot Hut team is heading out to ADG's production facility second week of December. And we're going to do lots of podcasts, and we'll have some more inside information on exact dates for when that production run is going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why that segue was needed is Travis, you got to kind of tell us why you've jumped on, you came from where I came from. Bigger is always better. I need a big 300. I need a big 338. But now you're building a 6UM. Why?
Well, so I guess to really backtrack. So I started getting into shooting long distance. I mean, years and years ago. And back then I was messing with lots of speed, light bullets. So I was shooting a 220 Swift was one of my favorite rifles. And dude, it was just because it screamed out of there. And back in those days the days before rangefinders, dude, it was all about trying to get something flat shooting. And then 3378. So Mark Thompson was messing with those down in Cache Valley, Utah years ago, kind of come up with we're talking, this is back when nobody really even talked about long range shooting, early 2000s. So it was all about speed to me. I actually shot a couple deer with a 220 Swift. Dude, I was using target bullets and unbelievable devastation. They were these cheap target bullets that I was buying. I didn't have a lot of money. And dude, I saw some of the most devastation I've ever seen on deer with a 220 Swift. So this is years and years ago. And so what you guys have been saying, it totally makes sense to me. I guess over the years, I just loved to make sure whatever I was shooting, it was down, and I really, so I guess I kind of transitioned to these bigger guns, more or less just because I guess that's where the market was. And I mean, I love the performance of my 300 Ultra. When I shoot something, it fell. That's just what I kind of liked. And so messed with that. And what you were showing me and seeing some of that, damage with that 6UM, that's pretty impressive. And I just thought, well, it'd be fun. I have a Tika action, like sitting here, I'm not using it anymore. And I'm like, dude, let's do this. So I kind of talked to you about it, and yeah.
It's funny because I always claim next week I want to have Kurt from Stone Glacier on, because he's just annihilated animals with the 6UM in the past two years. And he talks about how I talk about it. Basically, a 6UM, you have 300 ultra ballistic performance with a 6.5 Creedmoor recoil. In my opinion, that's what you're getting. So you don't have all that big, hoopla. You can run a short barrel with a suppressor, and you're still running about 24 to 26 inches, all suppressed up and ready to go. So
I like it. This sounds awesome. I'm excited.
It is. And then we're going to drag Robbie into the 21st century also and get his all done. We're waiting on a rock stock, and that should be here. We'll have the brass, because the thing with handing it off to Robbie is, as Travis already knows, having to bring him a knife when he doesn't have a knife in the backcountry. Robbie needs it hand turnkey. Here you go, Robbie. This is just go kill shit.
Yep.
That's what you need to hand to Robbie. Yep. So it'll be perfect. And UM does a great job. Load dev getting it all ready. We'll just hand it to him and say, go kill shit, Robbie.
Not only that, but we have a ton of load data too.
Yes.
That's also something I did to say about ADG. So what ADG is going kind of above and beyond at this point. We're making them a pressure test barrel right now. So they're going to actually go through and do pressure test measurements in the Fireform version and the 30 degree. And they're going to offer, kind of, let's call it basic load data like you would find in a book. Yeah. So ADG is still going to distribute this brass internationally. We just worked out kind of a deal with them for.
And that is a bigger picture thing, is because that's the next questions I've been getting is, will this be supported year in and year out? And I'm going to assume right now, yes.
Now that they've made the brass, like once you see the 6UM headstand brass in your hand, the work is done. Mm-hmm. So from our perspective, a lot of different companies might come up with a Wildcat, but rarely do you see the complete package offering from the reamer to the brass being head stamped, which is kind of awesome. And not only that, but it's quality brass. Like you don't have to guess whether or not it's going to handle the pressure or what to expect from them. And again, they're going above and beyond doing this test barrel to actually do pressure testing.
Yep. So the very simple answer is yes, this will be a year in, year out thing of brass being made for a 6UM.
We will continue to carry all of these parts for as long as we're in business.
It's a great day. It's a great day, Travis, to hear that.
That's kind of cool too that you and Robbie are going to 6UMs at the same time too. So that's probably good for Robbie.
It is. And this gets me to the next caveat of the 6UM, and where it also may have even more legs, is Travis, you said you're kind of in the know about these open-sided seasons that are coming our way. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah. So let's start in Utah. So there has been this long push of like tag cuts across the West for deer and elk, just especially deer, because deer numbers are declining. And that's been basically the answer. Well, I think we're seeing the like pendulum swinging shift. It's quite a deal that instead of doing just tag cuts, maybe we restrict weapons. So Utah was one of the first ones that I've heard really throw this out, was like, let's look at open sight rifle season. So 2 years ago or a year ago, they actually approved that weapon type as like an approved weapon type, or like had some regulations. Basically, it's iron sights. Idaho is like going to look at the same thing. And all of these states are like trying to come up with, how do we provide opportunity? How do we have good mature deer on the landscape? Like, where's that line? And I think we're kind of seeing it switch over. And I'm not saying it's going to be like, you're not going to see a state that's like 100% iron sights, but I think you're going to see some units start popping up where these type of hunts are a thing. And to me, I think it's kind of a good thing. Like I personally would love to see this than just the constant tag cuts, because it does suck when you're going multiple years. You can't get a deer tag like in your home state for the people that live in Utah. I can see why people are frustrated.
And you say that, and I the way I think it's going to happen, and people, spit out their coffee and start screaming at their headphones or whatever on the podcast, is this will happen in general seasons. I don't see them changing the premium controlled hunts in Utah or the controlled hunts in Idaho. Those will still be your scoped rifle. These will be a way to keep general tags long seasons and actual long seasons for, male animals, bucks and bulls, in a general way that you can go hunting with your kids and keep, that hurt. Kind of like that. I don't want a week-long season. I don't want a week-long season where every swinging dick is out there trying to kill the same deer. I want a month-long season so I can pick and choose when I can go. I can go on weekdays. I want long seasons. If we have to take those scopes off in some of those general units, I'm all for that.
And Ryan, it's interesting thinking back over the years, and I think it's weird as hunters, we get pretty short-sighted. But Ryan, it's crazy to think to me, when did you see your first rangefinder, Ryan? What year do you think it was?
Well, you're talking about laser. Remember the old ones you used to have to focus together? And then
Yeah,
you saw one image.
like a laser rangefinder.
The real ones probably. I'm terrible at time because I was in the Army for a stretch of time where I didn't do shit. So I would say 2001, 2002.
Yeah. And that's me. I think 2004, I think I saw I had seen some really crappy archery rangefinders that would work out to 200 yards or something. And then I did see, I think it was in 2003 or 4, Leica. So my buddy Scott Thompson, Mark Thompson's son, dude, shows me this. He comes out, we're going coyote hunting. He's got this pair of binoculars that I swear was like a suitcase. I'm looking at this. I'm like, what? Dude, he's ranging stuff at 1,100 yards. I'm like, no way, dude. And then he shoots a coyote at 1,000 yards in 2004. My mind was blown. I didn't even that was so unheard of. And to think back that was 20 years ago is it seems like forever ago, but it was only, 20 years ago.
It is. And the rangefinder is a problem, but I never really thought about this. After you said that, I went and done a bunch of little research, Google searches, and you can limit whatever you want, but it also has to be easy to enforce. And it's hard. It's easy to have 2 fucking rangefinders in your pocket if one shows a solution and one doesn't. It's real fucking hard to hide a scope. So if that law enforcement officer comes up and says, I see you got a scope on your rifle in this open-sighted season, it's easy to enforce. It's hard to enforce other kind of shit like laser rangefinders or solutions on your phone. So I see how that's a simple way for Fish and Game to regulate this.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see, and Utah's take on this is they're really trying to gather information. So they're going to try it in a few of these general season hunts. And this hasn't been approved yet. I should mention that. It's still got to go to the wildlife board, but it's went through their regional advisory councils with support. So my guess is it does get approved, but it's not a said and done thing at the time of this recording. But they're going to try this for 5 years in these general season units and try to gather information. What does the buck to doe ratio do? How do people like it? Do they hate it? Do they love it? Are they avoiding this unit? Are they going to apply for this unit? All of those things just to get some information. And to me, that's a good thing. And instead of just going down that road of constant tag cuts, I'm kind of excited we're talking about something else.
So do you think Idaho will have one this coming season? I know you had prediction there, but.
So Idaho does not have an open sight rifle weapons definition. So what will have to happen, so Idaho, the Southeast Idaho Mule Deer Committee has been meeting, and we've been talking about how do we provide, good bucks on the landscape, continue to give opportunity. And the thought's been these open-sighted rifle seasons. However, Idaho has no weapons definition yet. So they are going to try to get that weapons definition to at least try it as well. I think there's going to be other states, that are going to, a lot's going to be said. If a state tries this and it's got good results and people do enjoy it, and people are actually able to get out and maybe they harvest, some good bucks on a general season, buck to doe ratios maybe increase or whatever, that I think you will probably see this spread around a little bit. I don't ever see the day where it would be everywhere, but I think you're going to see some select units the kind of a hunt would be available. We've kind of watched the shift. You guys like pay attention to the muzzleloader stuff. You know, it's kind of interesting. A lot kind of that pendulum kind of was swinging to scopes and like less restrictions. I think it's coming back the other way. Idaho has kind of stayed true, but you look at like a state like New Mexico, Utah, they've both like taken scopes off of muzzleloaders to try to get them back to like that muzzleloader feel, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's where I think it's going. I think we're going to see more of the types of things.
Yeah, and Idaho can move as fast as they want the fish and game side. Do you remember when they threw that fucking short range season where you could use slug guns and like straight wall cases for like a year or two, and it was a fucking disaster? But they can move fast when they want to.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Like I said, I'm all about. It's fucking hard if you have a youngster and you're coming up and you have to buy the scope, the rifle. I can see where iron sights will be like, fucking throw that 30-30 in the truck and let's roll. I see that could have some leg. So it should be interesting.
When you first told me about this, it reminded me of that Quigley Down Under.
Yeah.
When the dude's riding, he has a bucket of water or whatever. The dude's running fucking straight off. There you go. It's right there. He must ride about fucking mile away, right? And he's up on that little hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Has that ladder sight. I don't know why you can see that, Travis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the future, baby. The future.
Yeah.
So Travis, you're going to try to build a 6UM and have them put on the Gunworks, their turret system, correct? On this first go around.
Yeah. So that iron sight, I think, do they call it the XO? It's basically a peep sight, kind of like you have, except for it's not like a flip up and it's just adjustable, more like a dial on a scope now where you could, adjust you're going to adjust your elevation with your rear sight, and then your front sight or your front post will kind of be where you'd get your windage, that kind of stuff. So yeah,
and
that's what I'd like to try.
Yeah, and it's like an inch, like if you're 24 or 28 inches, that front post has to have a certain measurement to line up to the MOA holds on it. Yeah, it's very interesting.
To triangulate.
Yeah. So like if you had a shorter barrel, longer barrel, you have to figure out how to put wedges in there. I was reading about it. It's a lot more mathy than I thought it would be.
Is it the Revic brand or the Gunworks
very
brand?
Interesting.
Is that a Revic brand or Gunworks brand? I've never actually looked it up.
So, to be honest, I get it's Revic. Yeah, it's Revic. Like I got the box sitting right here. Yeah, it's Revic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the 6UM actually, I love the 6UM, but it actually has a lot of legs in that because it is short barrel,
very flat,
very fast. Goes back to your point of aim back in the day when you'd sight in 3 inches high and you're dead on at 380 or whatever. Kind of reminiscent of those days.
Damn, $1,250.
Yeah, there ain't nothing coming out of Gunworks cheap.
No.
Total side note, Travis. I always want to ask you this: where were you born?
So I was born in Cache Valley,
Utah.
So like real northern Utah. Like when people throw out northern Utah and they're from the Wasatch Front, I'm like, you're not from northern Utah. Like, yeah, northern Utah, like
so
Idaho borders like a stone's throw away. Yeah.
So that's why. So I was also born in Utah, and I don't consider you having that Utah stench on you.
Utah.
So it's because your proximity to Idaho. I think my thing. I was born in Salt Lake, but I moved out when I was like a year old and moved to Idaho. So I don't have the Utah forked horn stench on me.
It's the Wasatch Front. Like, dude, if you look at the, I hate to say this, but like truthfully, if you look at Utah as a whole, there's really like, I'm gonna get a lot of shit about this, but if you draw a line around the Wasatch Front, so say like Ogden, like down south to Provo, that's where a lot of the problems come from. Outside of that, there's some pretty good people. Like, I wish we could throw that part of the state out and let them have their own state, and then we'll have the rest of it. Like, Utah would be a pretty cool place.
Yeah, we have Boise. I get that, trying to throw a part of your state out. That would be one I would throw out.
Yeah.
Because we're all pretty good guys in Idaho, except for that Boise County, Ada County area.
For sure.
I was just wondering if we were both born in the same state, but we've escaped.
Yeah. So Idaho's a good place to be. I do like I'm a big fan of Utah. Like I do like it. I really like it'll always hold a special place. Like I love that Cache Valley country. It sucks because it's all went to shit. Like it used to be such a cool place to grow up. Like, I mean, it was awesome, but it's went to shit. Like it's just getting more and more people in it, and it kind of sucks. But I think that's coming to a lot of places.
Do you know any Mormons?
Oh yeah, I know lots of Mormons. Yeah.
We're running a long time, but I had a few mule questions for you, but I just want to ask you one. What we had did a whole other podcast, me, you, and Robbie, that had a lot of questions on there that you answered, but why a mule for backcountry hunting?
Dude, they're just so reliable. I think that's really, if you had to say one word, it's like reliable and easy. Like they're so easy to maintain compared to a horse. And then safe, man. Like that's another big deal. They're just safe. Like I have had a lot of rodeos on horses over my life. I have never like been hurt on a mule, knock on wood, but like they just don't get themselves into shitty situations. And when you're hunting a long ways, like from a truck and you're by yourself, like that's kind of how I hunt a lot of times. Dude, I just never have to worry on my mules. I've never had issues. I can't say the same for horses. Like I've just been in situations where horses rolled on me, all that kind of stuff. There's just something about a mule, man.
And you're the first person that really piqued my interest when you said you do a lot of day hunting with mules, and I'd never even thought about that concept, which is also interesting. You means you ride from the truck in the morning and you ride back to it in the dark. So you do a lot of in the dark riding, which I also didn't know was a thing.
Oh yeah, dude, like tons of time, man. In fact, most of my riding time, like in hunting season, I would probably say that at least half of it's probably in the dark. Like I do, yeah. And that's the way to go, man.
And you did have he told me about all about electric fences. And I actually seen them working 2 weeks ago. Our buddy Tim took an electric fence and it works. And then Travis was the big proponent. And then he was telling me that he put his mules in electric fence the day of 4th of July to leave, and he had a train wreck.
I had to think about it. It was actually it was Labor Day. That was the celebration. It was just after I was like, I jinxed this. And they did this big, like, booming fireworks show down where I keep my mules and ran them through the fence. And so now I got like this whole retraining thing I got to do. It's a long story, but I moved them into another pasture like 15 minutes before this fireworks show started. So they were kind of wandering around trying to figure it out. This fireworks show starts and run my mules through the wire fence, and now they've kind of learned like, oh, these wire fences, they don't really hurt that much, like we'll just walk through them. So I got some training to do.
A second of pain for a lifetime of freedom. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah. No, that's so true.
Well, Travis, we're way over an hour. Thanks for coming on. We'll have to get back to you once you get the 6UM up and running with the open sights, because I think that'll be the first open-sighted 6UM we've ever built, and it'll be interesting to see what you come up with.
No, I'm super excited. To get my hand. Love to like get a bunch of time on it before any of these hunts start, and just get really familiar with it.
I think you'll like it. Make sure you buy some D-Tex now.
Well, you guys better have some on the shelf stowed away.
I was just looking right now. Actually, we need to get some orders.
Jake, you better order some D-Tex now.
Take care of it.
All right, Travis. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, send me the bill.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.